The role of institutional agents on Latino males' commitment to educational goals.
Thank you so much. Say it one more time, Inez. I'm sorry.
The role of institutional agents on Latino males' commitment to educational goals.
And you finished when?
I finished in September.
So long ago.
I know. I'm still waiting for my diploma.
Has it come yet?
No, but they already said it's in the mail.
Yeah, that's what we tell everybody for like at least 6 months. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. And then we have one other person who's come in person to be part of our group. You want to introduce yourself to everyone? Can you start here?
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
We have it already here. Thank you. Can you see it? Can they see it?
Yeah.
Olivia, you want to introduce yourself?
Oh, sure. Hi, my name is Olivia Veloz, and I'm currently Director of Academic Support Programs and Services at Fullerton College. And I completed my dissertation in 2015. And the title of my dissertation is Factors That Support Successful African-American Male Student Athletes at a Community College.
Great, thank you. Thanks for being here. Laura?
Hi. Sorry I was late.
Okay. You want to introduce yourself and tell folks when you finished and what your topic was?
Hi, everybody. I'm Osmara Reyes Osorio, and I just graduated or finished January. I believe 2nd was officially published, but end of December. And my dissertation title was First Generation College Students, Guilt, and its Influence on Social Capital. Hi, guys.
Good to see you. And do we have anyone else? Okay. So let me make sure I have this right. We have Asmara, Nez, Camille, and Olivia.
Mm-hmm. She was on her way.
Okay. We have one other person that's going to be joining us in a moment. Am I missing anyone? Is there anyone else on Zoom that we've not introduced? Okay, great. Well, good evening to all of you. Really glad that you've decided to participate in our CAPP program. CAPP stands for the Single EDD Alumni Publications Project. That's a mouthful, so we just call it CAPP. And what we have attempted to do over the years is to provide an opportunity for our doctoral students to have some support after they've graduated to produce a publication. We've had a number of our students publish their work, and we're very proud of that, but we'd like to continue that process. Sometimes your chairs are available, or committee members are available to help you, and other times they're not. Sometimes after you finish, you just want a break and you say, oh, I'll get back to it, and then time passes. So we pretty much say to people, if you don't do it within the first 3 to 4 years, you're stretching it at 5, then it's, the data becomes old and you either have to update your data with another study or whatever. But I think all of you all are in the window that will work for this. And Camille, you're getting a head start, so that's really good. As you're finishing up your work, you might be thinking about publications as you're going forward with your chapters 4 and 5 will be really helpful. So Yvonne is also here in the room. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, my name is Yvonne Garcia. I currently serve as a program coordinator for CREAL.
And Yvonne, are you public yet or not?
Yeah.
Yvonne will be pursuing her PhD at the end of this year. She'll be moving to Michigan, we believe.
Wow.
Yes.
Congratulations, and wow, we're going to miss you.
Thank you.
University of Michigan?
University of Michigan. Yes.
Oh, go blue.
See?
So I've heard.
So she's leaving a non-football environment and going into a real football environment. So that'll
Yeah.
But I think all of us have told her we'll be there to visit during football season.
I got a lot of visitors already signed up.
So what I'd like to do is walk you through what it is that we expect you to do, or what you need to do so that you can make this a successful experience for you. If you're able to do what we've laid out here, you should have a publication that you can submit to a journal by the beginning of summer or the middle of summer, July at the latest. So you're doing the first thing, and that is to attend the first on-campus session or Zoom session that we're doing. And we're going to brainstorm a little bit, just some possible ideas, and hopefully you've thought about some ideas of articles that you can consider. You also, we've asked you to also look at journals that you're interested in publishing in. So for example, Camille, you have a very unique topic, and probably a very specific audience that would be interested in that, as well as perhaps a general audience. So you'll have some opportunity to do some comparisons to see exactly who do you want to write that first article to. So Osmara, the same thing. Who is your audience? Olivia, Inez. So we want you to be thinking about, as we're talking tonight, who is the audience that you want? For example, do you want to write to an audience of practitioners, or do you want to write to an audience of researchers, or do you want to write to an audience of scholars? So scholars and researchers are pretty similar, but you need to think about who is the audience that you want to reach. Once you have thought about who your audience is, then you want to go after journals that publish for that audience. Those are very important pieces. After you've done that, then you should look at your dissertation and say, okay, what are some stories that I have that I would like to tell? What's that?
No, that way they can see you.
Oh, what are some stories that are in my work that I would like to share? What's important? What's the so what of the work that I've now done? And usually what I suggest to people that they do is that you actually go to your chapter 40, your findings, and say, what's important here? What's interesting here? And if you don't find anything interesting in 4, then go to 5 and say, given what I found, what were some of the implications and part of my discussion that I could build off of to create new articles? What the biggest mistake that most of us make when we have a report or a dissertation or something that's longer than a paper is that we try to put too much into one article. And usually, not always, but usually you can get 2 or 3 articles out of a dissertation. So that's why we encourage you to go to your findings, look at your findings. Sometimes you have to go to your research questions to be able to differentiate your findings, and that's okay too. But you want to look at what are the salient findings that you discovered. Then the other thing that we ask you to do, simply because we don't want to have any confusion or any complications or any problems, is to please consult with your dissertation chair and say, I'd like to publish my work. And ask them, are they interested in publishing with you? Right? So that you have some backup. It's nice if your dissertation chair will publish with you because they know your work. Probably not exactly as well as you do, but pretty well. And they're in the field and they've probably published before, and so they can be helpful to you. If the chair says, no, I'm not going to have time, I'm going to be traveling, or I'm overcommitted with my own writing, then you would go to your other committee members and ask them. What we'd like for you to do is to get that in writing and ask you to email them. You may have a personal conversation with them, but we also ask you to email such that you have in writing that they say, yes, I'd like to write with you, or no, I'm not interested. Because what we don't want is for there to be a miscommunication or misunderstanding. You work and publish something, and then somebody on your committee thought that they were going to be a part of the experience, and somehow they get excluded. Right? So it's just to keep everything above board. Any questions about anything I've said? Yes.
So do you have to be really specific as to when you go reach out to your chair and your committee, like exactly what you want to write or what journal or article you want to write?
You don't have to. I think you could just reach out to them and say, hey, I went to CAPPS. They may not know what that is, but you can say, I went to CAPPS and I want to publish. And one of the things that Dr. Person asked was for me to reach out and see if you're interested in being a part of that experience.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is
Is
there,
that,
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
is that something that we would, like, if I reach out to my chair and like he says yes, do I then go and reach out to the other committee members as well?
I would ask all of them to see if they're interested. Usually the second and third person, they're not usually as interested in it. But sometimes they are. Sometimes the expert practitioners are very eager to participate. But their schedules often won't allow them. They're so busy. But yeah, I would reach out to all of them. But you can talk to your chair first and see what they think. Hi, how are you? Come on in, have a seat.
Is there a formal letter for formality? Or
No,
can we
no,
just
no,
go ahead?
just send them an email. So we can have another person join us. You want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Arnett.
And what did you do your dissertation on, and when did you finish?
So I did my dissertation on the remedial math phenomenon from the student's perspective, and I finished in 14.
So she's right at the cusp. We have to get her done quick.
Working on it.
So those are really good questions, but I think you can just be informal about it. You can be as specific or as general as you can be at this point. Some committee members will be very eager up front and say they want to participate. If they tell you yes, then the next thing is to say to them, well, what can I expect from you? How much time do you have that you can give to this? Or you can say, I'm working on this. I'm going to be creating some things, working with the CAPP program, and I'll get back to you about details or specifics. If your chair says yes, I would spend some time with them talking about what you should publish and where you should publish. Right? I would have a serious conversation with them about what you should publish, so because they're aware of your findings, or they can refresh their memory of your findings, and talk with them about what you might publish and where. So get some advice and guidance from them.
Dr. P?
Yes.
My chair is on sabbatical, so I'll reach out regardless and see if he responds. But
if he's around, because I just saw him yesterday.
Okay.
So he's around, and I think he'll respond to you. What he may tell you, though, is that he'll be unavailable until August. So if he tells you that, you could say, was it possible for me to just send you my ideas of what I want to do, and if you could just react to them, and then I'll work with Dr. Person or whoever your second committee person is to keep it moving.
Okay.
Okay, and in that case, then you may end up publishing with somebody else, like your second committee member or your expert. Who's your second person?
Dr. Gutierrez Keaton.
Okay, she may be interested. I think she'd be very interested.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if now, between now, March 1st, and the end of April, and I would say sooner is better than later, you can get that stuff cleared out. Who's going to write with you, who agrees to participate in being an author with you or not. And if none of your committee members want to participate, that's okay. We'll help you here out of C-Real. Okay? So it's not a problem. It's not like you're going to be left abandoned. That's what this whole program is about. Then you want to find the focus of what you want to do the article on. So what of your findings are you interested, or you think would be interesting? You want to look at the most recent literature to see if anyone has already written on your topic or the finding that you think you want to write about. Because I just had an article that we submitted, and it came back to me, and the author said, we just published something on this a few months ago, and I didn't see the article. And I actually thought that my article was a little bit different, that my thrust was a little bit different. But in their mind, the reviewer thought it was very similar. So they wouldn't publish it. So we've got to go in another direction. So take a look around at the literature since you last looked at the literature to see what's been published most recently. So you don't want to spend all that time like we did doing an article and then having it be rejected for that reason. So look at your dissertation. What do you want to write on? What do you want to focus on? And then at that point, you should then create an outline for your article based on what the journal requires. Every journal has different requirements. So remember, you're going to identify the finding you want to pursue. You're going to identify the journal and the audience you want to write to, and then what journal best fits that audience. So for example, Olivia, I would imagine that you want to write to practitioners or you want to write to policymakers, one or the other. And so in your case, you probably would steer away from the Journal of Community College Review and look more at the practitioner journal, right? So it depends upon your audience. In your case, I don't know if you want to write to policymakers or faculty who you're writing to, or if you want to write a piece to the student, you have a different, depending upon what piece of your findings you point out. Asmara, I think yours is the same thing. You could go in a couple of different directions. So once you make a determination of your audience, then you could either go for a more scholarly type of audience or more of the practitioner audience. And Inez, I guess you could probably do the same thing too. I know you altered your dissertation a little bit, your methodology a little bit, so I'm not sure if your findings, are they more policy related or are they more descriptive?
Policy.
Okay, so then you probably want to write in one of our policy journals then. Excuse me, I'm catching a cold. I guess I've caught the cold.
Did you get a flu shot?
I did. I got a flu shot. I know. We're going to get some. Go home. Inez, so if you want to write to policymakers, you can either do the journal. Was yours based on community college students?
Yes, so I actually did think that Community College Review and also Journal of Hispanic Higher Education might be a possibility. And actually I did go to Dr. Lundberg's. She's the one that guided me.
Okay, so you've gone through these steps already. Okay, well that's good. And I think, which journal did she suggest?
Those two, the Journal of Hispanic Higher Education and Community College Review. She really suggested the Hispanic one first.
Yeah.
I guess it's easier to get published in that one.
It might be, the journal of the review journal is really tough. And if your data is not like extremely tight, they'll give you a hard time. So I can't remember what kind of analysis you all ended up doing in your final piece of work. But it also depends. If you want to get to an audience of the policymakers, I think the Hispanic journal might be better. Because the other one is more like scholars reading it.
Right. I'll do the Hispanic one first.
Okay. And by the way, I just thought about it. Did you end up talking to Nabil? Did you two?
No, I was too intimidated calling a college president that I don't know, and
He was waiting on your call.
I was just like, how am I gonna do this?
You still have the number?
I probably do. It was too weird. I told Dr. Hoffman. I was just like, no, that's just.
All right, next time I'll make the call and you can be with me.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we'll do it that way. Okay, he was looking forward to talking with you then. I set it up. All right. So back on what we're supposed to be doing. So the journal, then once you identify the journal, you want to make sure that you have a clear purpose for what it is that you're writing and that your research questions are clear. And you identify what findings you want to address. And then send that to your co-author so that they can see where you're going. This also says you can send it to Dr. Beckham. I didn't really ask Dr. Beckham if she would look at these, but I'll ask her. She used to help me with this, and we just kept her name on here. So, which I think is fine. So when you get to that point in April and you develop that one paragraph there that says the journal requirements, clear purpose statement, research questions, and findings to be addressed, send that to your co-author, whoever's going to be writing with you, and send it to Dr. Beckham and also to me so that we can see if there's a good match and if it's clear. And also the journal that you intend to write to. So
these are, Dr. Payne, sorry.
Yeah.
So these are different questions based on your original questions.
They may be your original questions or you may tweak them a bit.
Okay.
Yeah, you probably can use your original questions unless you don't want to. But it could, whatever direction you want to go. Because sometimes findings end up taking you in a different direction than your original question did. So then you would just revamp the question. Okay? That's a good question you asked. Then, once all that's done, you want to confirm with your committee and with me and Dr. Beckham. I'll ask her to stay with me on this so that we end up with a list of who the people are that are going to be involved with your publication. And this is very important. You may feel like I'm stressing this a lot. I just don't want for there to be any confusion in the end, right? Because there's a determinant as to who will be the first author. In this case, you should all be the first author because you're going to be doing the bulk of the work. And then if there's a second author, it would probably be your chair unless they decide not to participate. Then if that's the case, then it would be the next member of your committee if they agree to do it, or the expert practitioner. But it's very important because I don't want anybody to be offended or feelings hurt. And you certainly don't want to offend anyone after they've invested the time that they have in having helped you to be successful to this point. So then we get all that down and we have it locked and put away. So then if there is a question that comes up, I can go back to the files and say to the person, nope, you told her you didn't want to do it. So we didn't include you, sorry. Get the next time though, she's gonna do a second article, you can do that one. Right, so an example, not to, just because I can pick on him because he won't mind. Let's say Dr. Fujimoto says to you, Asmara, no, I'm sorry, I don't have time. But then in August when you're done, he says, oh, that looks really good. I wish I'd participated. Let me help you with the final editing. Well, that's not enough to be listed as an author. That person then gets a footnote of thanks and that's about it, right? So we can say to him clearly, you said you were on sabbatical, you didn't want to do it, so she went with Dr. X. Okay?
Okay.
So far with us doing this, it's kept us from having any problems. So I would encourage you to do that. So all of this should happen no later than April 20th. So that then the last part of April and going into May, you're going to spend your time updating the literature that's related to what it is that you want to publish. So getting your literature review together so that it supports the selected research questions that you're writing about and your findings that you're writing about. And more than likely, you're going to have to add some more literature. There's probably new stuff out there, or you're going to be using a different angle. And you can use your foundational piece. Then in May, what we will be expecting from you is an updated and a reduced lit review that supports your work and your introduction, purpose, research questions, methods section. All of that should be ready by the end of May. And when you see the journal article, you should pick the journal you want to write in. You should pick a journal article within the last couple of years that's similar to what you want to write, just like you did with your dissertation, so that you have a model that you can kind of use to help guide you. Does that make sense? Okay. So about that time, the end of April, beginning of May, you should have the journals secured, an article or two that you're going to use as examples to help you. You're going to write all this up, and sometime in May, send that to me, your committee members that are helping you, and so forth. Then the last part of May, send your findings, discussion, implications, and recommendations for us to review. Got a lot to do in May. We might want to move this around a little bit. Then what we'd like to do is at the very end of May, have another session with you just to check in, see how things are going. We'd have us all read each other's work and get some feedback from our peer group here that we have. Probably do that towards the very end of May. So part of what you may be thinking right now is, what happens if I can't get all this done? May's a very busy time of the year for all of us. It's okay if you don't get it all done. Then we can go into June. There's no punishment. There's no guilt around this. You work at the pace you can. I've just set it up so that if you want to, you could be done and ready to go by July. But you can see that May has a lot in it that you have to write, and that may not fit your schedule. Okay? Then in June, you would write your abstract, review your submission guidelines very, very carefully to make sure that you've got everything down and it's organized the way that it needs to be. Make any final revisions, edits, send it to your co-authors for them to do a final read, provide you with input, etc., and then clean it all up with the idea that you would submit in July. So your heavy working period is going to be, I would say, from like the middle of April until the end of May. And then June will be just kind of sitting back, reviewing what you've done, reflecting on it, making sure it's clean, your APA is right, any charts or tables that you put in are accurate. And then we would do a final read with you here in our group, and then you would submit it. Any questions? No questions?
Well, I have a question.
All right.
So would it be possible, like, for us to, because I don't have access to, what's the name?
Library?
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
You don't have library access?
No.
We could probably help you with that.
Okay.
I don't know. How long? I thought as an alum you could have access, like internal access, no? They cut you off?
I don't have access.
Do you have access?
And then my other question is, like,
Just 1 second. Do you all have access to the library? Or a library, if not ours?
Yeah, I work where I work. I get it.
Okay. Camille, you're okay, right? Did I lose her? Camille?
She's on mute.
She's on mute.
Oh, sorry, I was muted. Yeah, I'm a student currently, so I have.
You're good. And then Inez, you're good. So it's just you two?
Yeah.
So you're not, you're not.
Yeah.
Get her access to the library because she doesn't have it anymore.
Yes. Yes.
Okay,
Let me
good.
figure it out.
I know we've had to do this before. Okay, so now I'm going to ask you to look at a couple of the handouts that I gave you, that I sent to you. The first one says tips for greater success in writing journal articles by Roger Heimstra.
I didn't bring mine.
Okay, but just to, I'm not going to read anything on here. I'm just going to encourage you to take a look at it. And it will be something that can be a helpful tool for you to assist you in writing. So something that we put together a while back that I think that students found helpful. Okay, so that's one thing. The other thing is we put together another handout that we gave you that has a couple of the resource lists that we have, and I think this is in the dissertation, the EDD titanium, but it just lists a book that you might find helpful by Belcher, Writing Your Journal Article in 12 Weeks, The Guide to Academic Publishing Success, that some of our faculty have used, and then the tips for success in writing. So I think that book is available for purchase for sure, but I think you can actually access it online. And then the last thing that you must do if you haven't done already is make sure you go back and carefully reread your dissertation with the idea that you want to publish off of it. So make sure you do that. Get the journals. Read through so you understand what the publication requirements are. Get a good article out of there and bring that. I said bring it to the next session, but just have it available to yourself for you to use. Consider the ideas that you want. If you need to meet with me or talk with me, all you have to do is send me an email, or I'll set up another time where I'll be available, like this time on the Thursday, because I usually teach at 7. But I can be available any Thursday this semester, really around 6 o'clock, to talk with any of you. All you have to do is send me an email or send Yvonne an email to say that you'd like to have some time, and we can Zoom or you can come over in person.
Dr. P?
Yes.
Is the 15-week I've never done this, so is 15 weeks realistic timeline, or is that an aggressive timeline?
It's an aggressive timeline.
Okay.
So it depends upon, because you know the material so well already, it really cuts down as opposed to if you were starting off cold. Think about when you first started writing your dissertation. So because you know it and you're in it, it won't take you, this sounds like a lot, but it's not going to take you that long to do because you're in a writing mode. You've been writing for the last 4 years. So you're in a writing mode and you've been reading all these articles. So I think you're going to find once you sit down and do it that it kind of falls together pretty nicely. And don't spend, and again, we can be flexible. If you take through the summer, that's fine. Right?
I was just curious. I've never done it, so I was curious. Like,
Yeah, we did a writing retreat with students here in C-Real last summer, and we wrote for like 2.5 days straight, basically, besides eating and sleeping. And when we came back down, we had manuscripts at different forms, different levels. But I would say to you that we were able to get almost all of those out over the course of the summer. So we started them in May, and by August, I think almost all of them had been finished. Right? So I know you can do it. What it really comes down to is the same thing with your dissertation. You got to be willing to sit in the seat and just do the work. So I think I would say, like everything else, you know yourself, you know how you write best. Either set aside a couple of hours a day or set aside chunks of time if that works better for you. And say, okay, I'd like to do this, and maybe this is too aggressive. Maybe you want to stretch it into August or September. That's okay. I'm looking, and there's a lot in May, and I know what my May looks like, so that might make it harder on some of you if your May looks like mine. That maybe some of May will have to go into June. And we'll play it by ear. If it looks like we need to push that meeting back, when we come back together to review each other's work, we can push it into July if we need to. Okay? So the last thing I gave you was a sheet that it's green, it's a PowerPoint. And what it has in it, I think Yvonne thought I was going to run through this. I didn't really plan to show it to you. I just wanted to ask you, everybody has this, right? You didn't get the attachments? Did you get the email inviting you?
Yes, you sent it with everything.
I just came. Tell me Sunday.
Oh, okay. Well, then we'll give you, you can have these.
Okay.
So essentially the green document.
Oh, I got this.
You have that? Do you have these?
No. I just picked up this. Thanks.
The green document, it says from start to finish, writing your journal article in 15 weeks, which also is a little bit aggressive, but it's possible. What this does, it gives you a plan for how you can do it, and it shows you how to do it in a way that will be comfortable for you, right? So I'm not going to go through all of this. I just would encourage you to look at it, and if it's helpful to you, then use it. If it's not, you can put it to the side. But it basically takes you through, gives you samples of conclusions, samples of putting together your plan of action and so forth, which I think would be good. One of the things that the PowerPoint recommends is that you actually, after you're done writing your article, that you outline it again, going backwards, so that they call what's called a reverse outlining, where you go through and you create your outline after you've written the paper. So for each paragraph, you identify the concept. You don't read the paper backwards. You start at the beginning, but you write your outline after having completed the paper to make sure that that there's parallelism in the writing that you've done, and that it's clear, and that it makes logical sense, the way that the paper is being presented. Does that make sense? Hello?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So just something to think about there. So that's what this PowerPoint is. I'm not going to go through it. I'm just going to invite you to use it as a resource.
So how much, Dr. P, how much does the committee feedback, like, if you're like the first author or whatever, like, how do you navigate, what if they were just wanting to go in a different direction? Or...
No. This time you're in charge.
Okay.
So it's your thing. It's your article. You're going to be the first author. So this is your piece. So if they start trying to take you down another road, you can say to them, no, this is the piece I want to write now. Now, when you first give them your ideas and they give you feedback and they suggest, well, I think this one might be more marketable, like it might be more easily if you to get this published, if you focus in this direction, you can listen to that feedback, but you still ultimately make the final decision.
Okay. And just to be clear, you said to invite your chair first and wait, and then reach out to the rest of the committee.
Yeah, I would. What I encourage students to do in the past was to talk to their chair first, and then say to the chair, if the chair is not interested, then say to them, okay, I'm going to talk to the other committee members. If the chair is interested, then you can have the conversation around who else do you think on the committee we should invite.
If we want to invite everyone on the committee, can we do that? Or do we have to talk to our chair about inviting them first?
Well, I would talk to the chair first, especially in your case, because you're not done.
Right.
You don't want to make anybody mad. So I would talk to the chair for sure first.
Well, if he's already said he wants to, then should I still extend that? I should still extend that invite to the rest of the committee, yes?
So talk to your chair first and say, who else should we include?
Okay. And what happens if I want to include someone and they don't, or is more inclusive better?
Well, I think, again, this is your choice.
Okay.
So if there's a person, I don't think usually we're not that particular as a faculty. I don't think. Who are you working with?
Dr. Oliver is my chair.
Okay, and who are your other people?
Dr. Hoffman and Dr. Singh.
Yeah, I think though, if your chair says no, let's just the two of us do it, then go for that.
Okay.
Usually if most of us are really flexible because the idea is to get you published, right? And so if somebody else wants to be involved with it, I've never told a student, no, don't have that person.
Okay.
I've never heard of anyone doing that. You'll break it back to me and say, Dr. Oliver said no, just him. So we'll just play by ear and see what happens. But I think if you want everybody involved, I think you should share that with him.
Okay. Dr. P?
Yes.
So what does it entail to co-author? Like what work, is that a typical thing that the co-author does, and that kind of thing?
Well, if you co-author, it means that you both have equal say in what's going to take place in the article and what direction it's going to go in and so forth. So, you are going to be co-authoring because they're going to publish with you. But usually in these cases, we're trying to have you take the lead. And we're all in a supporting role.
Okay.
Yeah. Is that what you were asking me to differentiate that?
Yeah, I just needed to figure out how much do I expect of my, if Dr. Fujimoto says yes, how much am I expecting of his input? Is he going to be responding to every, he did with basically how he did with my dissertation, or is he going to at the very end say, hey, let me look it over, add this, add that kind of thing. You know what I mean? I didn't know.
I think it's going to be if you follow what I've asked you to do, he's going to have an opportunity to give input all along. But you're doing the bulk of the thinking and conceptualizing around it. And he's going to give input and feedback to you to try to make it as strong as possible for publication purposes.
Okay, thank you.
Right? Because you're going to do different sections and you're going to be sharing it as you do it. So once you get a commitment from them and they say, yes, I want to do this, then I think you want to have a conversation with them about, okay, here's what I want to do. I'd like to take these research findings and write my piece around these two or this one, and then let them give you input and feedback around whether they think that's a viable finding to pursue. And hopefully as you're doing it, your support people, your committee people are feeding you information or suggesting things for you to read, that kind of stuff. And when you write, you can send it to them and say, what do you think about this? But they should not be directing you. You're directing this one. This one's yours.
Okay.
So I'm sorry, and I'm printing, and I don't want to stop. It's the PowerPoint, but So I want to know the dynamic of this. Is this usually a burden for the co-author? Like, am I asking for a favor, or do they usually want to publish because it's good for them? I want to know, like, that type of dynamic. Like, because so then I could say to Dr. Lundberg, don't worry, I understand if you can't do it. Is she going to feel like what? Yeah. Am I asking for a favor, or is it good for her as well?
It's good for them. It's good for all of us to publish with you. We all need to be publishing. So it's good. I mean, I try to publish with as many of my doctoral students as I can. Some of them are more interested in publishing than others. Some people don't want, once they finish the dissertation, they really don't want to publish it, take it to the next level. So it's good for us if you publish. It's good for us to participate with you, and it's good, you know, we benefit from you publishing. There have been times where a student has had no interest in publishing, and the faculty member thought it was a really good piece of work. And so the faculty member said, well, I'll take the lead on it. Let's get this out, because it's really important information, and then you just kind of participate. We've had that happen before. And when that happens, the faculty member's name goes first, and then the student. But Tippy, I mean, you've done all this work. We want your name to be the first one out there. You've done the bulk of the work already, all the hard thinking about it, the data collection, the analysis. So, but no, I don't think it's a burden. I think what will happen is, like in your case, your professor is going to be gone in spring. So as much of it as you can get done this fall would be good. Asmara's professor is gone now. So we're going to help her and support her until he comes back. But I think in both of you all's cases, your faculty are likely going to want to publish with you. Yeah. Sometimes, and I know Dr. Oliver has published with people before.
Mm-hmm.
With you. Mm-hmm. I published with people before, so that's good. Yeah. So don't approach it like you're burdening them at all. It's a good thing for them. Dr. Fujimoto is not a full professor yet, so he needs publications. Dr. Lundberg likes to write. Dr. Hoffman likes to write. Dr. Oliver likes to write too. He just doesn't, he likes to have, for it to be very focused, Camille, so that it's, you know, he can work through the process pretty easily with the student. I like to write. So I think you all have good people that are back behind you, backing you. Who was your second reader?
It was Mary.
Dr. Beckham? Oh yeah, she likes to write. Who's yours? Oh, we're good. Okay.
Then my expert was Franklin.
Oh yeah, I don't know. He's busy, but we might be able to get him involved. Who was your second, Osmaro?
Dr. Gutierrez-Keaton.
Oh yeah, you said that. Okay, and yours, Inez, yours was Hoffman?
Yes.
Okay. So I think Hoffman's a second on two of them, it sounds like.
Yeah, mine too.
Yeah, and so he may not be able to do both. I don't know. You all have to talk to them and see.
Yeah.
Okay? So why don't we plan on this? Why don't we commit that you'll each write your little quick email saying, hey, I want to publish. Are you interested in working with me? I'm not sure what direction I'm going to go yet, but we had our CAPP meeting, and I'd like to know if you're going to be involved, if you're going to be interested, or call them, or however you want to do it. And let's try to get that secured in the next couple of weeks. Why don't we say week? It shouldn't take you that long to do that. So just, yeah, on the next week or so. And then, how many of you got your journals? You've already identified the journal you want to publish in. I know Inez said she did. Anybody else? Journal?
Yeah, I've got a couple.
Camille's got a couple, okay.
Did we research the journal?
Yeah.
I did too.
Okay. So you have an idea where you want to publish.
Yeah, but I'm not sure. You can give me an idea because you.
Okay.
I did Journal of Blacks in Higher Ed, Educational Research, Educational Psychology, Research in Higher Ed, Community College Journal of Research and Practice. And then they had SAGE journals, and they had a lot of things under SAGE journals.
Yeah, probably that community college practice with research and practice. They like our stuff. Yeah. Okay. Same one. Okay. All right. So let's work on that, and then how about have you all reread your dissertations already?
Yes.
So do you have an idea of what you think, which of your findings you want to pursue in a journal article? Are you far enough along for us to have a quick conversation about that tonight?
Yes.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about that then. Let's see. Camille, do you want to go first?
Yeah. One of them was that parents felt neuropsychological assessments offered their kids a more accurate assessment and better recommendations than assessments conducted by schools and districts for internationally adopted children.
Okay. Okay.
And then the other, because I have kind of two ideas to write two separate articles. The other one was that all the parents cited that trauma-informed classrooms and schools either benefited or would benefit their child. They had the highest agreement, but they also had the highest agreement that almost none of their schools and children's classrooms were doing that.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I think that those are both really good. That second one will come as no surprise, but it's that.
Right.
Right?
But I have the data on it, so that's the important part, because I think everyone knows it, but no one has the data specifically pertaining to that. And also no one has ever studied assessments in kids with early trauma. So I studied Russian adoptees because I know for a fact that all of them have experienced early trauma. So I'm able to isolate that population for this study.
Good. And what kind of study is this? A quant or a qual or a combo? What'd you do?
Quantitative.
Quant.
Mm-hmm.
Did you use an existing data set or did you collect your own data?
Nope, I collected my own data.
Good.
So I could personalize it to that population. And then the other reason I chose Russian adoptees is because a lot of times, you know, when we look at student achievement, we look at socioeconomic status as being a variant, but the mean income for these families is $174,000 a year. That's the median income. So like I've taken that out of the equation as to why these students aren't doing well as well. So it's a unique population in that respect. So that's why I wanted to study them with trauma.
Okay, very good. And what journal article which journal, I'm sorry, were you thinking about?
I'm looking at the Journal of School Psychology, the American Journal of Education, and the Harvard Educational Review.
Good. Good. You're going big.
Go big or go home, right?
Great. That's right. Very good. Okay.
And it's topical right now. Everyone's talking about it. So.
Yeah. If you can get something on the next few months, that'll be great.
Yeah.
On all kinds of levels.
Yeah.
Right?
I want to do it before someone else does it. People are starting to publish like mad on this topic.
Okay. Well, good. We'll serve as a support to help you get through it.
Awesome.
All right. Good. Asmara.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about what you're thinking about?
So I found through the research that we need to redefine parental support for community college first-gen students. The literature talks about that first-gen students don't get support, and actually based on my findings, they are getting support from parents just in a different way than what we in higher ed define as support.
Okay. And you have specific
It's qualitative, so I have specific quotes that address that. And I think that's an important piece in that we need to just redefine, especially culturally, what we define as support.
And so you're the redefining will be making that statement will be important, and then also talking about what the implications are for practice.
Right.
Okay.
I don't have a journal though. I haven't looked into it. I know part of my research grant was to publish at the Journal of Community JCC, Journal of Community College, or College Counseling.
And so I don't know if that is applicable, Journal of College Counseling.
JCC?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Not community college, right? It's college.
It was mostly community college, but
So the Journal of Community College Counseling.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with that. Okay. All right. Do you have a copy of that journal?
I printed it. I found 2 articles that were from that journal. A Journal of College Counseling.
Okay.
So JCC.
That one I've heard of before.
Yeah. And so I found samples.
Okay. So what you all want to do is get the abstract or get the journal requirements for submission and really study those so that you understand what they want. And go ahead and outline your article around what those expectations are, and make sure you have an example or 2 of exemplar articles that have come from the journals that you're interested in. Okay, Inez.
So one of my findings was that most Latino males never meet with professors and never use campus services. So I want to write about that. And the other idea is affinity encounters. So my findings showed that quality encounters with professors and campus services make a difference in students' commitment to educational goals. So I want to talk about affinity encounters, which is a term that I came up with.
Okay, very good. And what were your journals?
The Hispanic Higher
Ed.
Journal of Hispanic Higher Education and the Community College Review.
Okay. And you're going to start with the Journal of Hispanics?
The Hispanic, the easier one.
Which one are you going to put in the, which of those 2 ideas do you plan on putting on the?
That's kind of interesting. Maybe the first one, that Latino males don't interact with institutional agents, for the Hispanic one.
Okay.
And the other one, affinity encounters.
Okay. Okay. Good. All right. So I think I got those of you all who are on the computer. So let me turn to my colleagues in the room. Olivia.
Well, my dissertation on the factors that support successful African American male student athletes at the community college had several findings. So I really have to think about that, because there were 7 significant findings, and all of them are really impactful. But I think this is very good. What you told me, I'm going to have to follow is that look at some exemplary articles and see what they're talking about. What is it that people are really focusing on? But then go back and read mine and see which ones of mine are impactful and a little bit different, so that they can look at it and say, well, this is something different. But they were academic challenges, academic support resources, negotiating relationships, impact of family variables, impact of financial factors, resiliency, an outcome of racism, and supporting Black students. So I'll go back and read some more articles. I don't, like I said, I was kind of concerned that maybe from the time that I wrote this, 15, 16, 17, 18, in 3 years, people might have gotten on the ball and wrote about mine.
There's a book that's in the making that's looking at African American student athletes, and it has a lot of these things in that book, but they haven't published it. It's frozen for some reason.
Who's writing it?
I forget the woman's name, somebody out of the University of Georgia. Well, there are a number of us who have written, because I wrote a chapter, and it's been sitting for probably as long as your dissertation's been written. So hurry up.
Yeah, and so do you think I should choose one of them, a couple of, and not, because it's too much for them to really grasp, but I can itemize it and say, we're going to talk about this.
Yeah. You want to select one, two at the most, but probably just one. Now, the other thing I want to, well, let me do you and then I'll come back. Remind me to talk to you all about copyright, okay? Somebody remind me. Okay, Ms. Arnett.
I want to definitely do pedagogical factors.
Pedagogical. Okay.
Yeah, so I need to see what's out there on right now.
So you could write, because yours is related to math, you can go with the community college practice, or you can go into teaching math as a journal on teaching mathematics.
That would probably
We talked about that before. Yeah. Okay. I think it's called the Journal of Teaching Math, or the Journal of Teaching, the Journal of Education and Mathematics, or something like that. It's a practitioner journal about teaching.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So one of the things I want to mention to you all is that once your dissertation is published, it is no longer your work. So you cannot just cut and paste out of your dissertation because it's been copyright written. It's a copyright written document. So Camille, for example, I don't know, Asmar, if you did this or not, and Inez, but Camille, you may want to not publish your dissertation right away. You may want to delay it for 6 months and give yourself a chance to get your article out. I'm running late. Can I call you back in about 30 minutes? Thanks. So if you do you all understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Because then I'd cite myself in my dissertation.
What's that?
Because then I'd cite myself in my dissertation.
Right.
And now would that affect my ability to graduate or anything? Or
No. You still graduate. You graduate on time. It just means that the ProQuest will not publish your dissertation from 6 months to a year.
Okay.
And if you need longer time than that, you can renew it.
Okay.
Okay. So it just means you don't get that nice little binder thing for a while.
Oh.
But it's
my computer.
Yeah, it's worth waiting, especially if you know you've got a hot topic that you want to get out there.
Right.
So, Asmara, did you put yours through to be published? It's done. Okay, so guess what? You have to reference yourself. Inez, you have yours?
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, same thing. Sorry. And you all had yours published.
Yeah.
So, Camille, you're the only one that's the lucky stiff here. Everybody else has to reference themselves. But that's okay. It's all right, because you're going to be taking pieces of your work anyway. But Camille, I definitely, if I were you, I would delay publishing for at least 6 months to a year.
Okay. I have a question. I think you already mentioned it. Can we or should we cold contact these journals and see if they're interested in our topics? And if so, how do we go about that? Because you mentioned something about outlining or sending something to them first.
No. Send it to us.
To you.
To the journals. Yeah, to us.
You. Okay.
You can call an editor and ask, but they often don't like that.
Okay.
They often get irritated, or they feel, because think about it, if 1,000 people are calling them, that's all they're doing is returning calls.
Right.
So if there's a journal you really want to publish in and you don't see anything around what you're writing and you're curious to know if they would consider it, then you could send them an email.
Okay.
And talk with them about it. Yeah.
Okay.
But mostly they don't, the editors get a little irritated if you are, calling them with those kinds of things.
That makes sense. Yep. Cool.
What we'll be doing is actually writing an article with other researchers that we read their articles and we right? I kind of got confused.
No, you can be writing your own article with your committee members.
Yeah, but don't we have to bring in
Oh, your
additional
literature,
lit-
yeah.
additional
Yeah,
lit
you have to
review.
bring out the lit review.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Dr. P, what was that? I couldn't hear that.
Oh, he was asking if you're going to update your lit review, and I said, yes, you absolutely have to do that. So you'll be going to look for the most current information that you can find on your topic. So to embellish what you have already.
Okay.
Okay. All right. I'm going to sign off. I feel like I give you a lot to think about, and I want you to have time to just kind of let absorb it. And I think, did we schedule another time to meet?
I will
Okay.
schedule it and I'll send it up to them.
So what do you all think, though? Give me a sense of what, are you going to jump on this and be ready to just move, or are you, where are you at? What are you thinking?
I'm ready.
You ready? Hey, we just lost them. Oh.
I'm
Okay.
ready too. I'm going to jump on this.
All right. Inez?
Yes.
Ready?
Ready.
Okay.
I'm retiring, so May is like my 3-week month. I have three
You do
weeks.
this.
I know. That's
Yeah,
why. That's why
good.
I'm
So you're ready.
excited.
You're
Yeah,
ready. Okay. Then I think it sounds like you all are ready to go, which I'm not surprised since you're here tonight and ready to and participating. So why don't we plan on meeting at the end of April? Can we set a date now? Or maybe even the middle of April. Maybe, do you think that,
On a Thursday?
yeah, you think you can have your outlines and all that ready? I think, is Easter in April?
April, yeah, the first Sunday. Isn't it? No, I'm sorry.
Easter is the 1st, April 1st.
Okay, so if we go a little later, like maybe towards the end of April, would that work for people if we met on
Like the 20th?
the 20,
I'm sorry, the
on the 19th or the 26th?
I prefer the 19th.
Me too.
Okay.
That's fine.
19th
Is that
at
good?
6.
When are you defending, Camille? Do you know yet?
No, he said this month though. He said it would be this month.
All right, so you'll be done then.
I'm
Okay,
gonna hold him to that.
I like it. Okay,
Okay.
so April the 19th then.
Yeah.
Okay, so is this time good for you all, about 6 o'clock?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Class at 7, so if we can meet at like 5:45, that would be better for me, just in case we go longer than an hour. Would that be okay if we met at 5:45?
Yep.
Yes.
You want to do that? Okay, perfect. All right, now, send the email to your person, and if you want, you could just CC me on it so that when they respond, it comes back to me, then you don't have to bother sending it to me. You can use me as your reference point if you want, Dr. Person. The CAPP program encourages us to reach out to see if you're interested in publishing with me. Or you can talk to them. If you're going to see them, you can talk to them rather than emailing. But at any rate, I want it in writing so we don't have any problems later on that.
Mhm.
Whose dog is that? Somebody's dog's getting mad. Is that your dog?
Sorry.
No, it's funny. He's like, get off. You've been on there too long. Okay. Any other
Thank you,
questions?
Dr. P.
Yeah, my
Thank you.
pleasure. I'm
And,
excited. Excited to see what you all end up doing.
Feel better.
Okay, and we're going to send, oh no, I just caught this today. Can you believe it? It just manifested itself. I'm going to ask Yvonne to send an email out to you all so that you have each other's contact information. Oh, they all have it? They know. Oh, you have each other, she said. She CC'd you all already.
Yeah.
So you have each other's information. So if you want to talk or you want to connect with each other, some of you all have some overlapping ideas. So it might be useful to have a conversation.
I have a conference, April 19th.
Why are you telling us not after we set the date?
It was going to be in the day or in the afternoon. But
What time are you done?
It doesn't say here. I'm in the committee. It's
Are you
the Latina leadership. Yeah, we have that day.
No, let me go.
Pardon me? You can't go?
I'm not going. But I'll be planning. I'll be in plan.
Okay, Thursday's the first days, and I could probably get away
Well,
Is
you
it
can just do
around
Zoom.
here?
Yeah, it's in Winter Park.
Somewhat apart.
You can always just Skype in.
Yeah, you can Zoom in.
Yeah.
With your phone.
Okay, we're good. Let's keep it date.
Thank you, Yvonne.
All right, thank you
All right,
all.
take care, you all. Good luck, Camille, with your defense.
Thank you. And thank you for hosting this. It's very helpful.
Oh, my pleasure.
Nice meeting you all.
Nice meeting you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.